Hey Mom, it's Brad. Just wanted to call and let you know. I'm sure that you heard there were, or maybe you haven't heard, that a plane crashed into World Trade Center 1. We're fine. We're in World Trade Center 2. I'm obviously alive and well over here, but obviously a pretty scary experience. I saw a guy fall out of probably the 91st story all the way down. So you're welcome to give a call here. I think we'll be here all day. I'm not sure if the firm's going to shut down for the day or what. But give me a call back later. I called Dad to let him know. Love you.
What you just heard was the last voicemail ever given by Brad Fetchett to his mother. Brad knew that September 11th was not going to be a normal day. But what Brad didn't know was it was going to be a day that ended his life, changed his family, America, and the world forever.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror.
When I think back on these times and the dreams we left behind, I'll be glad 'cause I was blessed to get to have you in my life.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve, for the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened.
In my dreams I'll always see you soar above the sky. In my heart there'll always be a place for you for all my life.
I had the privilege of being able to interview Brad Fetchett's mother, Mary Fetchett, who is one of thousands who were personally affected by the horrific events of September 11th, 2001. Could you tell me a little bit about your son, his background?
Brad was 24, and he was an equity trader at Keefe Brewett and Woods, which was on the 89th floor of Tower 2 on 9/11. And he was a very handsome young man, but he was also, very bright, very athletic. He played hockey and lacrosse through high school and college. He met a young woman at school, Bucknell University, and they were planning to get engaged. So he was the oldest of our 3 sons. We had 2 surviving sons. Wes was 20 at the time, and he was actually attending Bucknell as well. All 3 of our boys attended Bucknell. And then Chris was 13 years old, and he was in middle school. So Brad was, my husband worked for IBM, and he traveled, frequently, but also internationally. And so Brad was really a mentor to our younger sons, certainly with the age difference. He was 11 years older than Chris. But very, very close with the boys, and certainly close with Frank and I.
Now, did you actually ever receive a confirmation from the World Trade Center or from any organization like the fire department that they had actually declared your son deceased?
There was actually a process once they verified who was in the building. Death certificates were distributed to the families, and certainly with Brad working at a firm, he wasn't visiting the building. He worked at a firm there, so that was verified by his employers. And then since 9/11, we've been notified 5 times of Brad's remains. There's about half of the families still have never been notified. And so I want to say they have probably 8,000 body parts that have never been identified. And here we are 11 years later. I know there were, I think, 1 or 2 families that were notified for the first time just last year. And that process is going to be continued. So it could be decades from now. If families want to be notified, they may find out 30 years from now that some of those remains were in fact their loved ones.
All right, and I want to move to the government perspective of 9/11. Now, do you feel justification on the matter of how the government handled the situation of 9/11?
We were so unprepared, both locally and nationally, to prevent or respond to this terrorist attack. And so I think that was pretty clear in the days following when we started reading newspaper articles. And we were connecting the dots, but in fact we felt that the government was not connecting the dots.
Did September 11th, did it affect your faith or your outlook on life at all?
What we found with the families that we work with, I mean, I was raised Catholic, and I was always a very religious person, so my faith has been helpful. I always say faith, family, and friends, I think, is what the 3 things that can get you through a tragedy like this. But we have seen a wide spectrum in how faith has played a part in people's recovery. So some people that weren't religious became religious. Some people that were religious, I think are not religious today. And then there's everything in between.
How do you believe that 9/11 was a turning point in history?
It was a turning point in my life, I can tell you that. I think of my life in 2 chapters, before 9/11 and after 9/11. And many times when people bring up an event, I have to think, gee, Brad was alive or Brad was dead, and that will give me some, idea of, when the event was. But I think 9/11 shook our country and our world to the core, both because of the scope of the event, to have almost 3,000 people die, to have such loopholes in our security. I think people felt that their lives were in jeopardy. They were sort of bracing for what next. And, when you think about nearly 3,000 victims, you'd think about 3,000 families, but there's a rippling effect from that. You think about certainly the parents and the spouse and the children, but there's aunts, uncles, grandparents, nieces, nephews, friends, neighborhood friends, high school friends, college friends, colleagues at work. It just goes on and on. The relationships that we have with one another. I kid that we have an unspoken bond. Mrs. Ong, who lost her daughter, Betty Ong, who was on one of the flights, she and I don't speak the same language. I don't speak Japanese, she doesn't speak English, but I can look into her eyes and know what it was like for her to lose her daughter, just like she can look in my eyes and know what it was like as a mother to lose a son.